If you didn't like any of the movies of 2025, it's probably because you're watching nothing but Sydney Sweeney or The Electric State. But 2026 though, Odyssey, Dune Part 3, Doomsday, this might be a big year. So first off, I gotta talk about that anime thing because I'm an Asian boy. And back in the day, we didn't have like Crunchyroll, Funimation, all these things, all these online websites. We had VHSs, and you need to go out to like a library and go to the back of the library and blow up those dusty books and those crevices and those cabinets to find something like Trigun or Serial Experiments Lane. But thankfully PBS had that stuff. Good for them. This might be a whack pick for some, but my first movie is going to be Pompo the Cinephile. It's my type of silly, and it had a visceral I see you moment. It's got the ups and downs and vomit-inducing fear that comes from making movies and telling stories, from the dope editing sequences, the change in locations and the deadlines, and how much we just put ourselves into these films, and to really see this medium talk about it in such a way, in such a loving way, in a crazy cartoon fashion. I loved this movie so much, and I wish people who talked about film watched more movies that talked about making films.
Who do we make movies for?
All you have to do is think about the one person you want to show the movie to the most.
No. 10.
I know the times can be bleak and the news cycle can be rough, but the thing I love about bleak movies is that if you're doing it right, you tend to highlight the human spirit and how people who go through the worst things always choose not to become terrible people. And I will take The Long Walk over any of these textureless, bland cape movies that have simplicity just embedded to it, where you don't put characters in complicated situations. In The Long Walk, there's nothing that says like someone's going to save you, you have to save yourself, but also you're not given these superpowers that just say, cool, I just break reality. You're in it, you're in those systems, and this is how we move forward. This is how we make the right decision. And even after much sacrifice, it's so easy for us to just be consumed by the darkness around us. This movie shows we are often around people who want the best for us.
And 9.
Now, this is a pick I was actually not expecting to include, but shout out to Brad Painter, an actor friend of mine. We began trading movies early in the year, and we totally fell off that. But absolute trigger warning for this movie in the name is Wrist Cutters, a love story, and I loved this film. This film brings these characters who are in the afterlife, and the afterlife is this dusty, long, winding road where you have these different souls, and they're all in these kind of like decrepit places, but you have these characters who are looking for love, looking for purpose. And what's the best way to do it in this like 2000s-y indie movie? Through a road trip. And through the montages and songs, it just feels like they had nothing to shoot with. They had no money. They shot it with their friend's camera. And then you realize as the film goes on, it's like they put a lot of effort into it, and it really shows how well you can make a $1 million movie, which is absolutely nothing in the industry. And I enjoy this era of film where the internal conflict resolves when realizing the external one is the journey of building a new tribe, not really actualizing the plot. It's naive, it's not glossy, and it feels like the cheapest crew shot this film, and then you realize how much set design went into it.
8.
Most of y'all met the Filippo brothers with Talk to Me, which rocked the indie and horror world at Sundance. I met them with Rocka Rocka videos are dumb and funny with DC versus Marvel, Star Wars versus Harry Potter, and they're just chock full of kinetic energy blasting almost off the screen. And they were such a delight to watch on YouTube. In the same way they push that level of visceral kinetic energy with the ideas they push across the screen, and probably the best way ever, in probably the most horrific movie I've seen this year, with its tension, its horrifying imagery, and the strength of the performances within the younger cast. Bring Her Back is such a beautiful expansion of the world Talk to Me, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
7 hot dogs on the TV tray.
I know I've picked a lot of films that didn't come out this year so far, but I watched this last year and I have not stopped rewatching it. And every time I watch it, I just want to share it with other people. And I talk about it. I am becoming an apostle of Hundreds of Beavers. When I was a little boy, I loved The Mask, not because of its mature subject matter that went way over my head, but because it loved cartoons and I loved cartoons, and it melded those things together. It used that language, such as Hundreds of Beavers did, and just takes that idea to the next level. What a treasure this film is, and everyone who just wants to enjoy pure cinema should just watch this movie.
And 6 elemental crystals.
Now, this was actually my favorite movie of the year. I watched this and I said, maybe this might be the number one. And I did not expect to cry so hard watching this film, but 28 years later shows what happens to people isolated. Something like a ghost we still don't talk about, but something we sorely need to. Yes, the hardships of growing up and the genre of undead rage virus is cool, but my God, the humanity displayed in this film and that we are truly still connected by our capacity to empathize, this shit goes.
There's no us without him.
Honestly, I'm so surprised how much I really abhorred the blockbuster attempts at these family-oriented action comedy films that K-pop Demon Hunters achieved almost so effortlessly, but also with so much more nuanced in its conception. Not only did this animated film bring the world together in a small way, it still had room to have a real conversation about generational pressure and wounds, and to live a dual life and fear to not be accepted. Sure, it's got the comedy, the music, the fantastical entertainment, but the catharsis of accepting who we are and accepting each other was so strong it blew every other summer movie out of the water for me. Now, I know some of y'all are going to give me some flack for where this is placed, so I'm just going to put Sinners and One Battle After Another at the same spot. So let's talk about One Battle After Another first. Let's be honest, the South Park guys got it right. Things didn't get political, but politics has become pop culture. How do we watch or engage or make art in this era? The protest songs and the art of yesteryear are masterpieces, but now everything's just happening so fast and everyone's just judging and trying to label the thing before it even hits the mainstream. One Battle After Another does none of that. Instead, it focuses on our feelings that everything is happening so fast it sucks. We aren't allowed to have breaks, and we don't know what to do next, and we're not prepared for the ongoing confrontation that's knocking at our door. And worst of all, the children pay the price for the generational ignorance of decades past. However, the thing I loved most about it, unlike Eddington, which feels similar in overall temperament, but this movie still creates a new Hollywood ending akin to Watchmen that is bitter, but that the future is in your hands instead of just throwing it up in the air and saying that it's useless. Now let's talk about Sinners. It's not number one, it's my list, so y'all can go make your own lists instead of arguing with me, but also continue the conversation in the comments. And y'all need to know that my favorite has no bearing on whether I think my favorite will win Best Picture or not. The Oscars are so much more political than that, and as my boy Stack said,
No vision.
Sinners is a masterpiece of a film. It's easy for me to be angry with this film because I have a lot of jealousy for Ryan Coogler's career. If you don't know the small brush in history that myself and Ryan Coogler have had in history, don't worry about it. Regardless, this is a film about blackness in America, in a period of time where black people can have their lives and businesses, but be preyed upon for their culture. Okay, maybe it's not so much of a period piece, but yes, there's also vampires. That happens too. That part is cool, but man, everything outside of it as well, I can just watch forever and ever. This idea that the music being this otherworldly tether is such a strong and smart piece of art and how it bridges time. I think culturally and cinematically, Sinners is a film that we're going to talk about more often than most of the films on this list. And it's up to us now and in following years to keep that cultural conversation alive.
3 Gläser.
Oh, this movie hurts. It hurts so good. Rental Family practically just beats the shit out of you with loving, healing pillows. Like, every hit just heals like those 2 months of neglect that you've had, maybe multiple years of neglect, or that time you were never able to express how you were feeling. Like, even the most warm moments make you tear up because it's a warmth so absent in everyday life that in many ways, exactly what Rental Family argues, Brendan Fraser's character becomes so much of the walking embodiment of what he needs and through the relationships he participates in. I would definitely check out this film because it's something that you need to do. I don't know who you are, but I know you need to watch this.
Always two there are.
This right here, this would be this is it. This is my kind of movie. I love these kind of movies. Romance comedy. Yeah, I know what you're saying. No, Tom, you like the drama and the genre films. But nah, it's the romance comedies that warmed my cold heart as a child into falling in love with characters, stories, circumstance, and the lessons life gives us. Eternity can almost be broken down into an afterlife version of The Bachelorette. The plot is very contrived, but I love this shit. The choices, the drama, the tension, the embarrassment, and the fear is so human. Art in films don't need to be one-to-one analogous to life, but inform us how to feel about it. This is definitely a movie for those who love love stories, have strong relationships, and also just need a good romance movie in our current time of movie making.
He is the one.
This was a hard year to choose what would be number one, but it comes down to how it makes me feel in the end. What I liked, not what's going to be the best picture winner, but the one that I could see with my eyes encapsulates what I love most about movies. Guillermo and company absolutely took this beloved story of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and put their own flavors to it, made it their own. Absolutely biased. I watched this film in theaters, and this opening from Guillermo talked about how this film was him talking to his son and his father about fatherhood. He was unashamed of his inspirations and made a film that spoke to me so dearly, not because of how cruel the world can be, but how indifferent life can be to our very simple desires to love and be loved, and how very few beautiful people can see us beyond the scars and the monstrous actions that have happened to us and how we survived. And they just teach us we're not the monster. We're not these horrible things that people label us as. And even though we are comprised of many pieces and our memories and our history and our actions and the people who brought us into this world, we are not broken and we are not alone. And that's why it's Zacky Snacky's Justice League. You know it, baby. Have a good 2026, y'all.